Wow, what a heck of a red card from Mbappé.
Yeah, not great. And here's a look at how this weekend's results now leave the top four. Barcelona, they stay 4 points clear of Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid, important note, they play today against Valladolid and could pull within 3 points of Real Madrid. But the big story out of the weekend was that challenge and red card by Kylian Mbappé, which could end up being a maximum 3-game suspension. And after the match, Davide Ancelotti said this was the culmination of a lot of frustration, Benny, in the game, that Mbappé was not happy with how he was getting fouled, but his team had to go on and play about an hour without him on the field ahead of a massive second leg in the Champions League. From a player's perspective, you're seeing that. What was your takeaway?
He's a forward, and I don't think he necessarily is trying to do something egregious there. But in the game of football, you got to make sure that you take care of the players around you, and I think that was as ugly as it gets. And he got lucky to get away with somebody not getting, severely injured in that case. So let's hope not to see that again.
Mike, how many games should Mbappé miss for that?
Look, I think it should be 3. I think this was pent-up frustration from a frustrating season, not just the recent poor form. I mean, it's been a disappointing season for Real Madrid as a whole. Kylian Mbappé aside, maybe Fede Valverde aside, Jude Bellingham aside. I mean, if you're out there and you look at
frustrating, Mike, but they've got a chance to win a treble this season. So, I mean, that said, you've got to...
What treble? What treble are they going to win? There's Barcelona over there.
It's not out of the question. It's not out of the realm of possibility.
Look, this is
that's what you got to step up.
This is severe.
And play for your team.
If you're La Liga and you look at the upcoming schedule, and we're all talking about how this could impact. Forget the league title. I think I've always said this for the last 3 months. I've said Real Madrid aren't good enough to win La Liga. They don't have the depth to compete on multiple fronts. The big trophy, the one trophy I actually think they will win or could have won if Mbappé isn't suspended, is Copa del Rey. Look at the schedule coming up. You miss Getafe, you miss Athletic Club, but the big one that this could impact is the Copa del Rey final.
I don't think they suspend him for the third game. So he'll get the 2. Yeah, they should, but will they?
I don't know. I feel like if you're Mbappé and you make a foul like that is clearly malicious, I don't care what the intent was behind it, you are going to be made an example of. I get the point of you're frustrated with getting targeted perhaps, but you're a target man. This is all the time. You can't possibly be this reactionary in the 38th minute of a game against a 17th place team when you are chasing Barca now by 4 points.
I don't see him being frustrated so much from the game because he gets hacked down plenty of times. I think it's more so where you're touching on where they lost 3-0 in Champions League. They're probably out there unless they have some miraculous recovery this week. The Copa del Rey is probably not even necessarily in his mind right now, and they're 4 points behind Barcelona. And so they're chasing arguably the best team in the world right now. I don't know if that's going to happen. I do think, though, he'll be available for Copa del Rey, and he'll get only the 2 games. That's my guess.
I just have to clear the air here. I don't think Real Madrid are going to win the treble. I'm just saying, it's
socials, clip it down.
Glass half full kind of girl. Social, don't kill me here on this one. But, Benny, you've been on teams as a leader. I'm sure you've had moments in your career where you're seeing red in those moments. How do you talk to a teammate after something like that?
Yeah, it's difficult. I think,
especially a star like Mbappé.
I think first you got to start with Mbappé because, to me, I've always thought this. You play a game with 22 players on the field. You got to have a certain respect for every single person that you play because Mbappé is a guy that gets crushed plenty of times. You don't want to go out there and do what you just did and now have a target on your back, right? Because that guy, he got away with not breaking his leg, which was, this close from something really bad happening. And then you're looking at 2-3 games. You're looking at 10 games, right? If something really bad happened. So I think the conversation needs to be, look, we still have games. We're in the final of the Copa del Rey, or in the final or in the semifinal?
Final.
The final right now for Copa del Rey in 3 games' time. And look, I've seen Real Madrid overturn a 3-0 deficit many a times. You never count Real Madrid out of anything.
Okay.
Really.
Wait. Real Madrid, but Benny, do you have any fouls that you absolutely are like, I wanted that had to happen?
Like something like this?
Yeah.
I have
Not
never.
this bad.
I don't think I've ever had anything similar to that. I really didn't because I do think that there is a respect for the game and you might get frustrated, but at the same time, you don't want to injure an opponent. That's not where my brain was ever at. And I don't know if that's what Mbappé was thinking. I think he was just thinking how frustrated he is at the moment and let his emotions get the best of him.
Yeah, look, Benny, I admire you as a former player and I admire the path you've taken as a current manager. And when I think of Kylian Mbappé, there's something that comes to mind is he's done this before. You go back to that Coupe de France match. He could have snapped that player from Rennes' leg. So it's in him. There is a pattern pattern that has established here. But when I try and put myself in Carlo Ancelotti's shoes, and my mini boots trying to fill big shoes there, I think of this. It's not PSG. You're at the biggest club in the world. There's a sense of responsibility as a player you have to now take. For Kylian Mbappé, we see he's got all the talent in the world. Talent alone, right now, he's the best player on the planet, right? In terms of individual moments, in terms of brilliance. But the next level for him, and the knock on him, we see that for the French national team, is that leadership presence, that sense of responsibility that you now have over one of the biggest national teams in the world. And now that's your next level to get to, over the biggest club in the world. When you change that mindset of letting frustration get the better of you, a mature Mbappé, hopefully Madrid fans will see a mature Mbappé, will show restraint in that moment. There's different ways to express that. Slam a damn chair in the locker room. Get after your teammates. I want the ball at my feet. But to almost let your team, or to let your team down, not almost, to let your team down in the way that you decided to, that's a selfish moment.
Yeah.
I think. Whenever I did that, and you're an attacker, I was a defensive midfielder, I chose to have a selfish moment to settle a score, to settle a vendetta, whether it's that match, the previous match, the season, and Kylian Mbappé has to learn and grow from that. But it's a massive let-off from him in particular.
Especially at this point in the season with how much Real Madrid still have to play for. On the other side, Benny, Barcelona, they now have extended their unbeaten streak to 23 matches. What have you seen from Barcelona that's allowed them, 24, excuse me, that's allowed them to progress this way this season?
Yeah, it's funny because I'm going to bring something back that you just said with Mbappé being the top player in the world, which he is, but I think someone's on his tail. And Lamine Yamal has been unbelievable, and he's kind of personified what Barcelona is. They're such a young team. Obviously, a couple of older pieces in Lewandowski and whatnot, but first year Hansi Flick as a coach, very young team. They have all the talent in the world. You know, Hansi's got them playing at a very high level together as a unit, right? I think that's what's impressive. I mean, I remember watching Barcelona maybe a year ago with some of these same players, and it's a different team right now. And I think the reason why we see them playing at such a high level and so consistently is because the chemistry is only growing. They're becoming better and better. They're young players that are coming into their own. And so I don't see them stopping. I think they're the favorites for Champions League this year. I think they're obviously the favorites in La Liga. And this team just looks like there is no stopping them right
Benny, I know you played against Messi, right? When he was a young gun. Would you make that comparison with Lamine Yamal and Lionel Messi?
I think there will never be another Leo Messi. And I got to play against him in the under 20s before he was anything close to what he is now. But it was obvious to me that day when I played against him that he would be the best player that ever lived. I don't know if I'm here to say Lamine Yamal is there yet, but he has some of those tendencies that Messi has, playing in that same position that Messi started out as, being able to cut inside on that left foot. I mean, he's brilliant on the shots, on the passing, the dribbling. And so, yeah, I think he's the closest version that we have of Messi for this next generation.